The girl's voice trembled like a dying candle flame as she stood in the dim light of the garage, surrounded by leather jackets, roaring engines, and the smell of gasoline. Her hands shook as she clutched the front of her faded jacket, eyes red, breath short. She whispered the words like a prayer, fragile and broken, "End it fast." The bikers exchanged confused glances. One of them stepped closer. She lifted her chin, took a trembling breath, and before anyone could understand what she meant, she grabbed the hem of her shirt and pulled it upward, revealing bruises so deep they looked painted by suffering itself. The room fell silent. No engines. No laughter. No words. Just shocked stillness. Sparkles, if you believe kindness and second chances can change a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more hearts. Sparkles, her name was Lena. She had walked 5 miles through cold wind just to reach this garage on the edge of town, where stories whispered about bikers who protected the broken and stood against the violent. Inside, the scene had been loud minutes earlier, men fixing bikes, old rock music echoing, tools clanging. But her arrival felt like a storm breaking over quiet land. She wasn't here to cry for sympathy. She was here to beg for something darker. She believed her suffering had no end, and that the men society feared might be willing to do what nobody else would, make it stop forever. She thought they were the kind of men who didn't care about life. She thought bikers carried ice in their veins. But what she didn't know was that this group, the Iron Souls, had built everything on loyalty, honor, and a sworn oath never to hurt the innocent. Their leader, Marcus, a giant with a scar crossing his cheek like a jagged river, stared at the marks on her ribs. They weren't the scars of accidents. They were the scars of ownership, control, and cruelty. It didn't take a genius to understand the story. She was too afraid to speak. The garage lights flickered, casting long shadows on the concrete floor as Marcus stepped forward slowly, like a man approaching a wounded animal. Lena's knees trembled. She believed that any second, they would comply with her desperate request. But instead, Marcus removed his jacket and gently covered her with it, like placing a blanket on a freezing child. Something in Lena cracked the moment she felt warmth instead of pain. Tears burned down her cheeks. Quiet and unstoppable, she collapsed onto a nearby chair, gasping for air as if her lungs had been locked for years. The bikers didn't ask a million questions. They offered silence, the kind that allows truth to breathe. Eventually, Lena began speaking, her voice trembling like a glass about to shatter. She came from a home that wasn't a home at all. A husband who promised love but delivered bruises. A family who told her to endure because reputation mattered more than safety. She had tried to leave. Every attempt left her with deeper scars. She had nothing left, no money, no support, no hope. She believed death was the only freedom available. Marcus listened with eyes that held storms. Every man in that room had known pain, war, prison, abandonment, addiction. But her story carved itself into them with a knife made of truth. The Iron Souls had been formed by men trying to outrun their past, searching for redemption in a world that expected nothing good from them. They knew what it was like to be judged by appearance, not by heart. And now, here stood a woman judged by her silence, blamed for her suffering, condemned by people who never lifted a hand to help her. They would not let her vanish. Not like this. Marcus made a decision with the same certainty he used to command the road. Lena would be protected. Not pitted, protected. The next hours unfolded like scenes from a film no one expected. They cleaned her wounds with care. They fed her warm food. They let her sleep wrapped in blankets that smelled of leather and machine oil, but somehow felt like safety. When she woke up trembling from nightmares, the biggest biker in the group, Tank, sat beside her silently, offering only presence, not pressure. Days turned into weeks. In that garage, Lena didn't become someone new. She rediscovered someone old, the Lena who used to laugh, dream, breathe without fear. The men helped her get legal aid. They arranged a safe house. They taught her how to defend herself, not to hurt, but to stand tall. Slowly, the bruises faded, and hope returned like sunlight through dirty windows, but healing wasn't simple. One night, she sat alone under the stars outside the garage, staring at the dark sky as though it held the answers to every unanswered question. Marcus joined her. His voice was rough, shaped by hardship. He told her every one of them had reached a point where they thought life wasn't worth holding. And every time, someone unexpected had reached into the darkness and pulled them back. Maybe fate had brought her there, not to end her life, but to begin it again. Weeks later, Lena walked into a courtroom with her head high, the iron soul standing behind her like a wall made of iron and loyalty. Her abuser's cruelty was exposed, piece by piece, truth by truth. She trembled, but she didn't fall. For the first time, she spoke without whispering. Her voice cut through the air with the sharpness of survival. And when the verdict was read, she didn't cry because she was broken. She cried because she was free. Outside the courthouse, the bikers stood waiting. She ran to them, not because they saved her, but because they stood with her while she saved herself. Her journey didn't end there. Healing isn't a straight road, it's a winding path with shadows and light. But she wasn't walking alone anymore. Two hearts. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps spread messages of hope and strength to others who need to hear them. Speech balloon before you go. Comment below. Everyone deserves a second chance. Lena later returned to the garage, not as a victim, but as a survivor. She brought them cookies she burned twice before getting right. They teased her, laughed, hugged her. Under the warm hum of engines, she realized something precious. Family isn't built from blood. It's built from those who choose to hold your hand when the world tries to break you. In the end, the words she once whispered, "End it fast," no longer belonged to death. They belonged to a past that no longer controlled her. She was alive. She was healing. And she was loved.